Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I am Melissa Jones, your host, the founder of Girls Positivity Club, and I am so happy you're here today. Whether you've been here a bunch of times or it's your first time, welcome. Today's episode is all about goodbyes and new beginnings, 5 ways to help your daughter through friendship transitions. So the reason that I've been thinking about this topic is because if you're in the US or Canada, you are coming up on the end of a school year. And I do know that we have worldwide listeners, and I love that. So if your daughters or girls in your life are not ending the end of a school year, I want you to just imagine that time, or just think about maybe a term break or some time when this would be relevant to your girls. And goodbyes and transitions with friends can come up at any time, especially when there are changes in friendship dynamics and your daughter or the girls in your life want to try out new friendships. Maybe there's a move. There are a lot of different reasons that this could happen. But in the US, it is nearing the end of the school year, and it brings up a lot of feelings for girls. And so I wanted to give you some tools with how to help them transition in their friendships, because we have a summer break that starts typically in June through July or August. And this can be a time where girls either stay really in touch with their friends because they have more time to do things together, or they lose touch with some of them because our girls have friends that are different levels. And it doesn't mean they're ranked, but school friends they don't often see outside in the summer, because especially if your daughter has a lot of friends, they're just different levels of friendship. There are some that maybe they are on a sports team and they're doing a lot of travel, and maybe they're spending more time with their sports team, or maybe it's their neighborhood friends, or maybe they go to similar summer camps to some other girls and they spend a lot of their time with those girls. So it really depends on what your daughter typically does in the summer, and it can cause some anxiety and just a little bit of nervousness about, oh, when we have a break during the summer, how will I say goodbye to my friends, knowing that I'm still going to see them when school starts back up? But there can be that awkwardness of the in-between time, and there is a transition, and they can still pick friendships back up when the school year starts. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think when there's some fear that comes up, I think it's that the girls are fearful of losing those friendships because they don't have much contact with them in the summertime months. Because logistically, it's really hard to stay in contact with every parent. Sometimes you don't have a way, or they don't have a way of contacting them, especially if they are pre-phone and pre-social media. Like, there's really not a way unless they get the girl's phone number of their parent during the school year or whatever that would be. So before I get too deep into the episode, as usual, I want to thank you for sharing this episode with any parent that would help, and caregiver it would help, because we believe that raising confident girls will create a more positive world and will also change the world. And so if you know anyone that this could help, whether it's this episode or other episodes or just the show in general, it would really mean the absolute world if you would send it to them. It's free to do so. This is my way of giving back and helping as many families as I can. And that would just mean everything. So that would be a gift if you have found value in these episodes, or you're like, oh yeah, this is a good one that my friend or my cousin or whoever needs to hear. That would just mean everything. So thank you, because the intention is always to help as many families and as many girls as possible. So thank you for that if you've already done that as well. So I'm thinking about, like I said, the end of a school year, and if your daughter is finishing up a school year, they can have different feelings. So what I'm going to do today is give you some different tips on how to help them with that transition of their goodbyes, even though they may not be permanent goodbyes, or if they are switching into a different friend group or trying out some different activities and they may not be around the same girls. They may be in a different classroom next year or in a different school on different teams. A lot of times they do teams and the next, the middle grades, which is like middle school ages, junior high, however you think of that. And then high school, I know it's all worded differently in different countries, but you get the idea. And I'll give age examples for each one. So one mom told me that her 7-year-old stood at the playground in tears because it was the end of the school year, like this time of year. And she was like, I don't know when I'll see her again. I wish I told her she's my best friend. And, I think about little moments like that. It's like at the end of the school year when I was teaching, especially in fifth grade, that like 10, 11 age, it was so emotional on the last day of school, the last week of school. Emotions were heightened. A lot of times there were more conflicts, especially in the girl friendships, because they're trying to hang on to like who's going to make plans over the summer and who's going to see each other and what camps are they going to and things like that. And especially the last day, they would be frantically trying to get each other's phone numbers or each other's parents' numbers. They would cry. They would act like they would hug a bunch and they would be like, can I sit next to her while we do this last project? Because I don't know when I'll see her again. And so there was a lot of just fear around not having contact with them or not being in the same class next year, because that is a very real possibility. And you do get very close to your classmates. And especially when you find your people in your classroom, it becomes such a comfort. So whether it's the playground example where maybe you have a younger child who they're like, I wish I would have gotten their number, or I wish I would have told them I want to play again another day. There could be like that more temporary kind of goodbye where they're like, I don't know if I'll ever see this girl again that I just met at the playground. We hit it off. Or whether it's the older girl example where they don't know when they're going to see them over the summer. And this would happen too in the middle school ages, in the high school. It just depends on how much contact they have and how available the other person is. So there's a lot of factors and a lot of fear about who they'll see in the summer and how they'll stay in contact, even though they know they'll see each other the very next school year. So the reason they have these feelings is because they just have this big feeling moment. Like I said, it's either the last week of school, the last couple of days. They feel really sad. So they might feel like I'll really miss them over the summer. They may feel anxiety. Will they forget me over the summer? Will they remember that we were close friends? Will they spend more time with other people? So there's another like comparison or a little bit of jealousy that can be like, well, I know that Lydia and Nadia live in the same neighborhood. And so they're going to see each other a ton. And I live across town and I have to make a plan for us to get together. It's more work to get together, whereas it's easy for them. So there can be anxiety about what if they get closer in their friendship and then I'm the outsider. There can also be guilt if there is a friend who maybe they get their phone number and then they're or the friend gets their number and then they never call and they're like, did I do something wrong? What did I do? And they're trying to figure out why the person didn't contact them when in reality, maybe they were going on vacations or holidays, or maybe they just didn't really have a lot of time to be with friends. And so that can cause a lot of just big feelings in a lot of different cases of friendships. And when these transitions happen, there can also be the drift risk that is a problem where even close friends can kind of lose touch and lose touch with what's going on in their lives. So let's say that they have every intention of getting together. And again, they just have a lot of busyness happening over the summer and they don't have a lot of free time. Maybe they're going to overnight camps or clubs or whatever. They're picking up a lot of different activities and they don't really have a lot of extra time. Or maybe their family goes to a cabin that they rent or they go to in the summer months, or maybe they have a divorced family where they spend the summers with the other parent or grandparents because their parents work and they have to have childcare in some way. And so there are a lot of different ways that girls can drift apart, and there can be just a feeling of losing touch without having a plan. And then there's also advice overload, where sometimes what we can do as parents and caregivers of girls is maybe tell them what they think that they should do or they could do to stay in touch. And it can often come across, especially in the older ages of that middle school, high school, as a lecture. And like you're trying to take over their life, where you're just trying to help bridge the gap and help them be able to stay in touch with their friends. But they see it more as like you're telling them how to live or you're telling them what to do. And it feels like a lecture, and they're not really feeling like they're part of the conversation. So that can be your best intention, that you're trying to help them, because most of the time we really are. We're not really trying to lecture. And it just comes across that way to them. So those can be some problems with why the transitions are so tough. And so now I want to give you 5 strategies that you can use to help with these goodbyes, even though the goodbyes may be temporary or maybe they're permanent, where I have a girl right now that, well, 2 girls I know in clubs, girls positivity clubs, who are leaving the state. And so they're likely not going to see their friends, and they're facing a making new friends, where do I fit in type of challenge. And one is going into an intermediate age, which is like that 5th grade age, and the other is going into high school. And so she's 14. And so these are 2 very pivotal times in their lives, because it's a major transition. And so they are saying goodbye. And I even had one girl who told a friend that she was moving out of state, and the reaction wasn't what she thought it would be. The friend turned kind of cold to her and was very distant. And so that was very upsetting. And so even when they tell them if they're going to be moving, especially if it's out of the city or out of the state or country or whatever it is, it can be a really hard thing for them to even tell their friends, because they're afraid of their reaction. And then also, if they don't react in a positive way, that can also be another stress. So here are some strategies that you can try. And again, these are ones that you adapt to fit your own lifestyle and your daughter and what would work for her. And so the first one is reminding her of running a friendship highlight reel. So one parent shared with me that her 7-year-old was just feeling like the whole year was just school, and she was like, yeah, it was an okay year. Like, it was just school. And her mom was like, well, tell me about some favorite moments of your school year. So this is really typical to do at the end of a year or during a break. Like, what's been, even if it's a December break or a mid-year break or a term break, you can say, what are some yays or some positive things that you've enjoyed, some favorite things that you've enjoyed this term or this year, or whatever it is. And so you can just say, relate it to friends. What were 3 of your favorite times with your friends this year? And then if they're like, I don't know, then you can give them some examples of things that you know, to kind of get those sparks flowing of the ideas. And so if they're 6 to 8, you could say, was it playing Foursquare at recess, or a game that you know that she enjoyed at recess? Was it swinging on the swings with your friends at recess? Was it building Legos? Was it sharing something at lunch if they're allowed to share food? Was it talking at lunch or doing a certain activity together? I know that I have a lot of girls in Girls Positivity Club, and that was a really favorite activity for them to do with their friends. At 9 to 11, did they love working on a science poster or a project with their friends in class? Did they enjoy winning a certain game in their PE class, which is their physical education class? Did they enjoy baking cookies with their friends or having a sleepover? Whatever that would be, if you know a few of those things that they've mentioned, you can use it to kind of jog their memory, to get them to start to give their friendship highlight reels. And not that they have to remember everything, but just helping them get started can a lot of times help them get that snowball going of good times that they've shared with their friends. At 12 to 14, this would be, what was the best moment of planning the talent show or some kind of a performance or presentation that they enjoyed. It could be a movie night sleepover that they had. It could be cheering on their friend at a game, at a sport that they're in. So this would be, what were your best moments of? Same thing, just thinking of the activities that would be a little different. And then at 15 to 18, which stands out to you? So instead of saying, what was your best moment? What stands out to you? Was it a late night group chat that you had? Was it when you did this community service project together that we did on the weekend? Was it the weekend road trip that we took your friend on with us and we went camping, or we went to an amusement park, or we went to the zoo, or we, whatever it would be? At 15 to 18, they still like to do those things, even though it may seem that they feel like they're a little too old for certain things. A lot of times they'll go back to things they enjoyed when they were younger, I've found. And yes, just reminding them of what stands out to them, and you knowing your daughter and what she's enjoyed with her friends. Number 2 of the strategy is give gratitude shout outs. So you can teach her to, at the end of the school year or whenever this transition is, it can feel awkward, especially at that tween age, that 9, 10, 11-year-old age. They can feel awkward saying goodbye, but they can write a note. So it could be like a favorite thing that they've done together. Like it could be a thank you note. If it's gratitude, for sure, it's thank you. And so that can reignite the friendship break. So you can help her send 2 to 3 quick, either handwritten notes, text, or voice notes, thanking friends and suggesting a catch up. So I think about this with a girl that I coach one-on-one. And there was a girl in particular where they enjoyed, and this is a teen, like a young teen, they enjoy getting together on Fridays and crocheting. And this is something that's becoming more and more trendy, is knitting or crocheting. And so they like to get together on Friday nights about 7 p.m. and they would crochet and talk and things like that. And so she is one of the ones who's moving out of state, and she could just write her a little thank you note. Like, I really enjoyed our crochet times together, whatever that would be. And they had little inside jokes and they just felt free to talk. And then she could say, we could still crochet, just do it on FaceTime because they're older and they could do that. So just helping her think about it in the context of her friendships and what she's enjoyed, whether it be handwritten, texting, voice noting, whatever it is. So at 6 to 8, at that younger age, you could say, thanks for letting me play on your swing set, or your whatever they call it now, playground in your backyard. Let's do it again soon. It could be a really quick thing like that. Or thanks for helping me with my project. This would be 9 to 11. Let's get together again when we have another project, next year or something. So that leaves the door open to, even if we're in other classes, let's get together again and do that. Or if it's a Zoom, if they're far away, moving. At 12 to 14, it could be, maybe this was a girl I know that had like a birthday party that was a bake-off, where they were in teams and they did different baking challenges together. So they could say, I loved when we had our bake-off. Maybe we could do another one next year, and just like put that in her radar, of the other girl's radar, of like, I would really enjoy that. Let's do that again. And then as they get older, maybe 15 to 18, and they're coming up on their last exams, they could say, and we call them finals here, and that this week is coming up on finals week at my teenager school. So it could be, appreciate your support during finals. All of those study groups really helped me. I hope we can do a FaceTime catch up, or we can hang out on a Friday and get ice cream, or we can celebrate in some way, like the end of the year. And so it's making plans. It's making that future plan along with thanking them for something, because it just feels great to get a note from someone. And even if it's a text, I know I send texts to people of gratitude, of like, I love being your friend and I feel so grateful that blah, blah, blah. And you make it very specific. They could do the same thing in their own way. So just thinking about, like, how could they write a note or send a voice note or a text that was basically showing gratitude for their friendship. The number 3 strategy is to plan 2 easy hangouts over the break. So whether it's a short break or whether it's a summer break, if your daughter is going to be around, even if they're only going to be around sporadically, just to make a plan to do that in the future, not just like, oh, we should hang out sometime. Really helping them get a plan together of making it really happen. And so girls worry, here's the reason, that it's weird to call once school ends. So they can feel awkward at times. Now, this is usually when they're a little bit older, but even younger girls can not know how to start it when time has passed. So right at the end of the school year is a really good time to have your daughter start getting those phone numbers of parents, because the teacher typically can't do that because of confidentiality. I know I would have people reach out to me and ask, and I wasn't legally allowed to do that because it's personal information. So having your daughter have a plan at lunch or when there's a free time at school to get the phone number of the parent or to ask permission to do that, things like that. And then that way you can help her initiate, especially if she's younger, once the school ends. And then parents can get something on the schedule and pencil it in to have a play date, have a call, or meet up for Starbucks or ice cream or whatever it is, just so the girls can see each other at least one time in the summer. So this would be you co-planning, or them if they're older, 2 low pressure get-togethers, one early in the break and one later in the break, right before school starts. Because typically the middle, especially in the summer months, is when people go on vacations, they go on holidays, and they don't have a lot of time to do that. And so usually right away and right at the end is really good because their friendship is still really fresh in the beginning and it'll be easy. And then if you make a plan for later, they'll know they have that to look forward to. So that'll be a really good way to do it. So at 6 to 8, this could be planning out, meeting up at a park or going to a certain event together. And it can be very, very simple. So I know a lot of libraries just plan a lot of fun events, or there are community events that are planned in the summer. Sometimes there are outdoor concerts, or there are just different things you can do in the summer, even if it's go to the pool. And so that would be really good to do. And 9 to 11, they could maybe do, and you could even do this at the younger ages, maybe they could have a backyard camp out or chalk afternoon art thing, or maybe they do a canvas painting together. They just do something artsy together if they like that, or they build together, or they do an obstacle course or whatever it would be. So they plan an activity to do together that's something that they would enjoy, that maybe would be unique to the summer months, even if it's getting out we call it a slip and slide, where it's so old school, but it's come back as like a retro thing to do, which is basically a giant piece of plastic and you put water on it and they slide on little rafts on their bellies, or sometimes people put soap on them or whatever, or just going to a new park or a new museum or something they would just enjoy together at any of these ages. 12 to 14, and I would say this is a good one for any age as well, and most of these are so adaptable too. Cookie decorating would be really fun. Maybe at 12 to 14 they do cookie decorating morning and a Netflix movie party movie night. So maybe those are their 2 events. At 15 to 18, maybe they meet up at a coffee shop for a chat and a quick coffee or refresher or whatever it is. And then maybe they do a sleepover of some kind, hang out, where they do whatever they like to do. So, or maybe they go somewhere, maybe they go to an event if they're old enough to drive. And so it's just, again, just making that plan, something right away and then something later. And if they do more, great, but at least they have this set to where they know they're at least going to see certain friends twice. And obviously I'm talking about the ones that they really care about staying in touch with and they're concerned about losing connection with. You couldn't logistically do this with every single friend they have if they have a large friend group, unless you do a group. But these are just ways to really make sure that they're staying in touch with those ones that they don't want to lose touch with, and they may have some fear around losing touch with. Number 4 is then setting intentions for their next chapter. So they often will see the next term or the next school year as a new chapter, a fresh start, something totally different, because again, they're going to be grouped with different people. They may have some friends in their class. They may not know anyone. So one thing that I hear families talk about is they talk to their daughters about, okay, let's say that you, not in a fear-based way, but let's say you have a lot of new kids in class. Let's make almost like a friendship wish list of things that you look for, traits that you look for in friends. So these are qualities that they value in their friends to help their daughters find their people in the next term or in the next school year. And so the action you would take for this would be her and you sitting down and coming up with 2 to 3 traits that are their values that they value in friends and that they're looking for in friends. And so these would be really, I always called it in the classroom, having her antenna up for it. So then she's looking for and she's getting to know new people and looking for these types of new friends as she's having these new connections, these new classes, things like that. And so brainstorming those with her will help her meet new people and know what she's looking for. And so ages 6 to 8, she may want friends who like doing a certain activity at recess. So if she really likes to jump rope or do the obstacle course or play kickball or whatever it would be, then she's looking for people like that, and also being open to other types of friends too, because sometimes friends can open our minds to new activities and new things to do. And a lot of girls at that age, 6 to 8, they like to pretend at recess. And so maybe it's looking for the girls who like to pretend, or even the boys, because a lot of girls like to play with both. And so it's just helping her look for, okay, what do people typically like to do that you like to do at recess, and finding that in common. And then 9 to 11, if they're like, I really like friends who tell the truth, then maybe in a kind way, not necessarily like the hard truth, but in a kind way, and they can trust them. Maybe trustworthiness and honesty is a big deal. And so maybe they join a school club to meet girls who also value that and they can tell, or maybe they try a new activity, or maybe they start just picking new partners to do group activities within the classroom, like group projects and things. So when they are in a gardening club or a girls positivity club or a STEM club or whatever it would be, they can just start noticing girls who they feel like are trustworthy and they seem to be the same to everybody. They don't talk about people behind their back, or they don't treat people poorly, things like this. Whatever the thing is, if it's honesty, trustworthiness, if it's loyalty, if they hang out with you one day, they don't switch and then pretend like they hardly know you the next day. So whatever those qualities are that they value in friendships, it's just helping her be in new environments to try and find those people, especially if they are not typically grouped with their core group of friends during the school year, in different teams or classrooms. And sometimes you don't know that until school starts. And then they see the class list and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know anyone. And so, or like, I have one friend or one girl that I kind of was friends with, but she also has her other friends in this class. So I don't know if she'll even talk to me. So those are typical things that can happen when there's a meet the teacher night, or they get the school schedule and they start calling each other and finding out what classes they're in, especially if that 12 to 14 age, where if they really like creativity, that's why a lot of girls love what we do in our clubs and in our camps, because it's all based in, yes, teaching them personal development and how to build their confidence and connection and things like that. But it's a lot of hands-on creative projects. And when you're around other people who like to do creative projects, you naturally just have something in common. So maybe it's the art class, or maybe it's, like I said, a camp that where they're connecting with girls and then hoping that they can meet up with those girls again during the school year and staying connected with them. Maybe it's community theater. If they love theater, it's being around people who also love theater. So regardless of if those people are in their core classes in school, they can be in a theater group or troupe outside of school. And in that 15 to 18 age, it's if they like people who achieve or people who are ambitious and like go for things, then they might want to be in some kind of a leadership retreat that, maybe there's a leadership retreat that the school offers, or maybe they're interested in student government, or maybe they're interested in being on the dance team or on the basketball team or whatever it would be. Like those people are typically those girls are typically ones that are ambitious and try out for things. And so, especially the leadership parts, like I want to be we call it in the States, a cadet teacher, which is people who want to be a teacher and they volunteer to lead certain activities, or they go volunteer in a school and get that experience. So whatever the thing is, it's just helping your daughter identify those values that she has, because she wants to be with aligned friends no matter what age she is. And yes, being open to other people is always such a positive, but more times than not, when you don't click with someone, especially if their values are off. And it doesn't mean, again, that they have to be a duplicate of your daughter and they have to have the exact same everything, but the core values are really important because you want to make sure that she's aligned and she is around people that are healthy friendships. And sometimes we don't know until they're in it. And sometimes friendships change. And so, especially if she is transitioning into finding new friends, these would be really good things to do, especially finding out like what are the traits that I want in my new friendships. And then the fifth one and final one is expanding her friendship table. So, several episodes again, we had a guest on named Alex Street, and he gave the idea of the table. So, he imagined his daughter at a coffee shop table, or maybe a kitchen table or dining room table, whatever the table is you imagine. Who would she have sitting at her table? So these would be people in her life that she is influenced by in a positive way. So his example was more adults that would be supports to her. And you can do the same thing with friendship. Who would be at her friendship table? So when a core group of friends dissolves because maybe there was some just negative things that happened in the friendship, maybe there was some bullying, maybe there was a lot of gossip, maybe some friends branched off and created another friendship group and the others were kind of left to figure out like what happened. A lot of times this will happen when new people come into a friendship group. And so this can leave girls that are in the other part where they're not included in the new group or whatever, or they're like, these really aren't the kind of people I want to hang out with, feeling like they're stranded. And so adding new seats at her table gives them backup friends. So that doesn't mean that they're less valuable, but having some people, some like variety of people at her friendship table is really important. So you can have her name, even trusted adults. There could be people who would be sitting at her friendship table that are kids. And then there could be people that would be trusted adults who could help her navigate and find new friends. So maybe this is a teacher at school that she really likes and connects with, that she feels comfortable with, and she could ask for help with getting into different activities where she would meet new people. Maybe this could be a mentor that she has over the summer who could really help her meet new people. Maybe this is a coach. Maybe this is a leader of a camp or a club or an art class or whatever it is. And you could just say to them ahead of time, like, she's a little bit shy about making new friends. Just wanted to put it on your radar. And if you could help in any way, that would be great. And I also coach people, so coach girls and help them, support them in these ways as well. So there are also different adults who can support in different ways. And so thinking of like 6 to 8, this could even be a grandma. This could be an aftercare teacher. This could be whoever is in your daughter's life, just helping her communicate that where she's trying to make new friends and having her be the guide in that way. So her being, I'm assuming it might be a female teacher. It could also be a male who could help. Could be a youth group person who helps guide her into new friendships. At 9 to 11, this could be a coach. It could be a favorite cousin. It could be someone who she really looks up to, who is an older neighbor, who is a good influence and a really good role model. This could be somebody during community service. This could be someone at your church, at your synagogue, whatever you belong to. And so it's just thinking about who are the adults who could help guide them when you're not right there with them and making new friendships and helping with that. I do this a lot in my summer camps and just help girls connect in different ways through the activities that we do. And at 15 to 18, this could be an internship mentor. So a lot of girls will do volunteer work in the summer, or they'll do internships. And so this could be a mentor in that way. And maybe it could be someone who also guides them into meeting new people that are their same age in that same internship group, or college age family friends that, again, are a really good influence that they may hang out with, but they just help them transition into, okay, well, what did you do when you were in your friendship things where you were trying to go into a new school year, or you were making new friends? How did you do it? And so maybe they could give them advice. And so it's thinking about who are the good influences that could sit at her table, and also who would the friends be that would be at her friendship table. And so these are just 5 strategies that you can try. And I always say, just try one and just see what works. Or if you want to try all of them, feel free. But just to recap, this is going to help her in a lot of ways. It's going to help her with emotional closure. So she's going to honor the memories that she had of her friends. And it's okay also for her to tell her friends that she's feeling a little sad about being out of touch with them in the summer. It's honoring those memories instead of bottling them up and feeling like she can't talk about them. This is going to also help her keep those connections going by making simple plans, sending a note, sending a little postcard from maybe where you're visiting, or just sending a text message. These little ways of just staying in touch are going to keep those friendships alive, even if they can't physically be together all summer long or in between breaks or whatever that is. It's also going to give her good confidence in the next year, if it's a new school year, if it's into the next term, if it's into the next set of classes. It's going to give her clear intentions. It's going to help ease those first day jitters. And then it's going to give her more broader support. So when she has more seats at her table, more people who are doing the positive influencing in her life, that means that she's never navigating these changes alone. And she's going to be able to draw from these different people in her life that are at her friendship table, who can help guide her in meeting new people, or helping keep in touch with her friends that she really wants to make sure that she is. And so if you think about everything that I said today, it's all about just really giving her some options without overloading and overwhelming her. So it's helping her create that highlight reel. It's giving those gratitude shout outs and showing appreciation for her friends in some way. And I've even had girls make little gifts for her friends, or little friendship bracelets, nothing expensive, but just a little reminder, and a little like, I'll miss you over the summer. When you're reading, I made this special bookmark for you, or whatever the thing would be. It's creating those easy hangouts. It's making those intentions to think about, what does she look for in her friends? And then it's expanding her table. Who are some new friends I can invite at a seat to the table? Or who are some other adults or young adults who would be a positive influence on her life and her friendships? And maybe even just set a great example of having positive friendships in their lives too. So I hope this is helpful. This week, ask your daughter, what are her top 3 friendship highlights? And then watch how her face hopefully lights up when she tells you about those. Or this could be a bedtime thing, or an in the car thing. Like, what's something that you has been a highlight for you this year with your friends? And she's like, I don't know. Remember, you can remind her of a few things. And then I would love to hear from you. So if you want to share any of these that have worked with your daughter, always love hearing from you. You can reach out at Girls Positivity Club at Gmail, or just on any social media. It's always Girls Positivity Club, just to keep it simple. So you can always find us. And if you're not following us on social media, especially on Instagram and Facebook, please do, because I create content that's positive, that's also helpful, and gives you more value and different things you can try with your daughter. And it also gives you an inside look of what we do in Girls Positivity Club. And so by pairing this empathy that you're going to have with your daughter with her friendships and action, because you're going to take one of these action steps, this is going to help our daughters say goodbye, even if it's for a short time period, a break or a summer break, with grace, and hello with hope. So it's going to help her really have hope going into the next term, the next school year, whatever that is, no matter what season she's in. And I hope you have a great week ahead. And I would love, like I said, to hear from you. And until next time, keep raising those confident girls, even if it's a hectic time of year at the end of the school year. I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.